99 FM, your inspiration station. You're still tuned into The Kingdom with Script. It is Midweek Madness. Wednesday is what I like to call it, the 9th of September. And we're chilling, we're vibing, it's good vibes only. We're in September in a damn pandemic, and we'll see just how the year pans out. I'm stressed, I'm vexed, and I am depressed in many ways, but I brought some light into the studio with me today. We have our game changers, two guests that I appreciate so very dearly, and just not just for what they're doing for themselves in their entrepreneurial capacities, but just because they are dope individuals. We have Tjuna.
Hey!
Who's very lively today. And Panashe, what's up?
What's up? It's Nasty P, eh?
Nasty
Oh my
P.
gosh! Oh no!
How could I forget?
Didn't.
Nasty P. Listen, we're gonna go with Nasty P for the rest of the
We're
interview.
going to go with Nasty P. I'll
So
take
drop your
Nasty P.
freestyle real quick.
We're gonna freestyle it in as well. First things first, good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Is it a good morning? I think about this a lot. When I tell people, oh, good morning, they're like, oh, good morning. I'm like, so what's so good about it?
I'm alive.
Nah?
I'm alive. I've got another chance at this thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's another day, another opportunity. So that's basically what makes it good. And I'm wearing color today.
Ew.
I don't normally wear color. I'm wearing orange.
You're like black, white, gray.
I am that girl.
Nah?
And brown.
So just for the interview,
I said, let me do orange.
I like it.
It's a good day.
And my boy Nasty P said we're coming through.
We're coming through today. Hey, when I see your mic, I'm so excited.
Now,
He's tempted.
what I wanna get to with you guys is the business side of things. Obviously, businessman, businesswoman, in a pandemic
Yeah.
is what I want to chat about. But before we get into where you guys are in 2020 with your businesses, when did the business bug get the two of you?
Okay, so I had found him having the business bug already.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, when we both met, we were both out of the job. Actually, we were both trying to run and find our feet. I guess he had found his feet,
Mm-hmm.
but I was still trying to find my feet. I was still researching solar systems because I wanted to partner up with a solar company in South Africa.
Okay.
So that was about 2015 when I left my job to become an entrepreneur, and then 2016 I had met him. And so I would say 2015. That's sort of like when I got that courage to say, okay, listen, deuces. Because I am leaving. So yeah.
Nasty P.
Yeah, I think for me it was 2013. In 2012, I knew that this is what I want to do. So I had a year to do that corporate espionage, get as much as I could, swallow everything, and then 2013, then I jumped over.
Is it something that the two of you had envisioned from way back and just it materialized in 2012, 2013, 2015? Or is this something that you stumbled upon in life? You were going a whole different direction and then you say, oh, but wait a minute, something's happening here.
I would say that I didn't realize it from the onset, but what I can tell you is that when I started university, first year of university, I would sell, no, actually grade 12, I would go to Tjuna and I would go and sell lemonade because we had a lemon tree at home. So I would go and sell lemonade at Tjuna because I was trying to make extra money for school, for break time and all of these things and for your books, whatever it is that you need in grade 12. So, and then I started university. At university, I was then doing events. So we would do pop-up events, do car washes and we'd invite people. And then my sister and I would do themed parties, 90s parties, 80s parties. And this was up until what year? I think I probably stopped around about 2014 when I got into the acting scene. And then I said, okay, let's pause the events, let's pause that sort of thing, and then let me do acting and then obviously working. And then eventually I then became went full stream into the entertainment and then obviously the entrepreneurial space.
Now, the dynamics are a bit different for the two of you. You guys are not only business partners, but also a couple. So what would you say are the dynamics of a couple doing business together? Because we hear don't mix business with pleasure.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
I think it's a difficult one. because you don't know where to draw the line. You don't know when are you still at work and when are you at home.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the biggest challenge, to be able to know that, listen, we need to stop talking work now, and I don't even know where the line is. Some point you just
catch
realize,
yourself just like
like in the middle of the night, like, listen, did you send that email?
I'm like, babe.
There's just better, like she just rolls over and be like, just email me at 9 in the morning.
Yes, I'm like, no.
I just want you to pass the remote.
Can we just eat? Can we just sleep?
Yeah, but I need that remote, but you can just send that email first.
So what advice would you say? Like, because I'm sure as unique as it is, it's not exclusive to the two of you. What advice would you say in terms of finding that balance? What advice would you give to couples who are in business together?
I think it has to be intentional. You have to think about it. You have to, the same way you make an appointment or set up a meeting with somebody is sort of like the same way you need to treat it as well. Say, listen, from 9 to 12 or whatever, I'm gonna switch off, and from 9 to 12 I've got a meeting with Panashe. I've got a meeting with Tjuna. Like, treat it as that. It needs to be really intentional, because it is so easy to get carried away. So even if you slot it in your diary to say, listen, this is the time when my other meeting ends, but this is literally like the time that my meeting starts. So it needs to be intentional. That's the only way I can think of it. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, especially for myself, I'm always trying to find you always want to make space for it when the time is right. And as a sort of entrepreneur, the time is right when you are financially stable and things are going well, and that time never comes. So I think it's probably to not wait for that perfect opportunity, and it's advice that I need to take myself as well. The time is never perfect, but I assume that's probably the right way to go about it.
Now, business is very demanding. I'm speaking from zero experience, and it can get intense at times. So how do you get in your quality time with your family time, the kids, or like are kids a business on its own?
Yeah, the assumption is that we're getting it in right now.
That's the assumption. Probably not as much as we should be.
Yeah.
But I think, look. For a man, I think you always feel more pressured, to sort of like provide. And as a woman, even though as much as you guys are partners, you need to also then sort of like know your position as well as a wife, wife to be, whatever it is, and say that, listen, okay, to ease off the pressure off of him, let me really like try and take over the kids, Especially if I know that he's going to come home at 7 or 8, but he's not switched off. He's only going to switch off at 10 o'clock. So
he's still asking for that email.
He's still asking for that email. So let me rather switch off and do the cooking and do the kids and all of that all of that jazz. But in terms of like really saying that, do we really make time for the kids and say this is kids only? No, we just take it as it goes. Especially now, you time is just not. It's just not. How can I say it? It's
not easy to come by.
It's not easy to come by, so it's hard to find that balance right now. We're still working on it.
I see that. Now, specifically with the two of you, we have the confab, we have the tipsy rabbit hole, and then we have this pandemic.
Yeah.
So, how has business been affected personally for the two of you by COVID-19?
I think for both businesses, because they are both direct face-to-face businesses, they've been affected heavily. Our sales, especially for the Tipsy Rabbit, that we opened last year, end of last year. We went through December when nobody's in town. January, nobody's got money, so we're like February and March, that's our time. March, pandemic hits, we can't sell alcohol. Until now we can't.
It was getting there, it was sliding.
You could feel it coming, man. You could feel it. So it's really hit us hard. I mean, we're not trading really right now. You've still got the same bills to pay. I think the first few months people were a bit lenient around rental and that type of stuff. Right now nobody's trying to meet you halfway. Guys, your shop is open. You should pay the rent. So I think that's a challenge for both businesses. And I think that the trick is to keep adapting, I suppose.
Yeah, that's the thing. You need to really adapt. I mean, we used to have a restaurant space where we could, serve people. People could sit down And so now we had to literally, close out that location and, move into another location, which is now the food truck, because that's what people are doing right now. People are doing takeaways and deliveries. So that is sort of like one form of adapting to say, okay, listen, honestly, the rent is killing us. We're not even going to lie about it. So are we going to keep on, incurring these costs, or are we going to try and just, change the business model a little bit? And that's what we decided to do for the restaurant temporarily, hopefully.
Now, what are some of the ways in which, like, you're working around the constantly changing regulations? And then when people say we have to adapt and live, I think a lot of people look at it and like, I have to wear a face mask for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But there are levels. When you own businesses, the face mask is layer one.
Yeah.
There's so many different forms of adaptations that you need to take on.
Yeah.
But with the different ways that you're working and changing with the regulations to keep the businesses afloat, especially like with the restaurant and the lounge, what would you say is a good thing that has come from that? I know it's very difficult. It's a very difficult thing to
see,
to pinpoint.
Yeah, I think a good thing is probably knowing what your limits are, and I think the pandemic has allowed people to reset and just to relook at their business models and what they're doing. So one thing that I always say is that change is good. A lot of times we gear up our businesses because things are good, you're growing and you're expanding, and everybody thinks everything's going well.
Yeah.
But you should also be able to gear down the business to say, listen, the business is going through a rough patch, and we need to scale down the type of business. We need to relook at how do we operate, how do we run, how do we manage our employees. I mean, it's very difficult. I can tell you, I've had more dips than ups. So you're always trying to figure out how do you deal with it better, and even that is a lesson on its own.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, family time and working from home. I think the women are appreciating it more than the men.
Yeah.
So
because he's still asking for emails.
My guy, but I would love to see daddy home.
Yeah.
So I mean, the kids, what it does to the kids, it's crazy. I mean.
They're probably also just shocked, like, what are y'all doing here?
What are you guys doing here? But it's so hard as well, because I mean, they're constantly trying to play with you guys, and they think that because you're home, it means that it's playtime all the time. But it's not, because we're also trying to work. So now you're in between like working and like trying to ignore the child that's crying in the background, hoping that the nanny will pick them up, but they don't. Like, so it's quite tricky, but it's good. It's good. It's a good experience.
Well, this, at every time in the year, there's always a budding entrepreneur somewhere, like, in the world. And it's just unfortunate for the ones that got into the game now. Very unfortunate that this is your first challenge. Your first challenge is the biggest challenge for people that have been doing this for years as well. But what advice would you have for budding entrepreneurs, like?
From my side, I think the question is, what do you want to do? A lot of times the assumption is that entrepreneurship is the alpha and omega, and that there's a lot of money in entrepreneurship. I've got first-hand experience that if you want money, you shouldn't do the entrepreneurship thing. Rather do the job thing, get money after 30 days, and then you've got money. If you want to start a business, you need to have money, and you need to just wait for that money to actually mature. So I think a good time now is to actually ask yourself and be honest with yourself, is this something that I really want to do or not? Or do I just want the money that comes out of it, or the freedom that comes out of it?
Yeah, and also one of the assumptions is that everybody can be an entrepreneur, which I don't fully agree with. I mean, some people are really great at being in the corporate space and providing that service, and that's what they're good at. And sometimes they think that, okay, maybe I just need to work for myself and just have my own business, have my own income. But it's not for you, because it takes a different type of character to be in that space. And I think some of us were still adjusting, and trying to learn every day, but obviously it's just the passion that drives us. But honestly, there are some people who are just made for the corporate world, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with having a job. People assume that there's something wrong with it, but it's not 100% correct.
I think there's a combination of what you're saying, or similarity in terms of you're speaking on the passion of it, and if money is the passion, there are so many different ways of getting money.
Right. Exactly.
But if the passion is executing the service or selling, providing the service or selling the product, then the money always finds you at the end.
Yeah.
And if your ambition is money and you're in a 9 to 5, the money will also find you.
It will also find
It
you.
will also find you.
Absolutely.
So just do your thing.
It's just different mediums, yes.
Now, what can we be expecting? I know that the Tipsy Rabbit Hole is under construction at the moment, but the confab, where can we go pick up the burgers? I say burgers because that's my thing.
That is your thing. That is your thing. You guys have probably had burgers twice this week already.
Twice.
I see
Probably
you
the
guys.
third time. But what would you recommend first of all on the menu? Each of you, what's the special thing on the menu, and then where can we find you guys?
Ah man, it has to be the burgers because I mean the burgers have always sort of like been the confab thing. Like we're known for the burgers, so that is the number one thing that I would probably like suggest. The second thing would be our hot dog. Hot dog rolls. Those are quite saucy, and I make them the way I make them at home. So it's not like any other hot dog invented. That I can guarantee you.
I like it.
Yeah.
And where can we get some?
We are at Vern Hill, opposite Vern Hill, right? You find Simon. Next to Simon, there's a complex called Kingsway Plaza, and we are sort of up that alley. Yeah.
Next to the Tipsy Rabbit Hole.
Next to the Tipsy Rabbit Hole. You guys know the Tipsy Rabbit Hole.
So you could get to see. You can get a sightseeing tour of the Tipsy Rabbit Hole outside in all its glory while you munch on
the good burgers.
On the good burgers.
You like the burgers too, right?
Yeah, the burgers are spot on.
Nasty P.
Nasty P.
Are we gonna ask you to freestyle?
I want a freestyle. Like I'm looking at this mic and I'm like, yeah.
Drop the bar. Let them know where
I've got the lyrics here with me.
But all jokes aside, I really appreciate the two of you coming through and just touching on the reality of the situation. Obviously, on social media everyone's just continuing to live their life and perception, like just because you're operating doesn't mean you're operating the same way. So I think it's just very important to have these conversations so that aspiring entrepreneurs and people that are stuck or that are in the business that are stuck can also have some glimpse or just a little hope that you can navigate differently and still get your way through this wave. Any last words to all the Namibians out there? Not last words like this is your end.
Well, no, it's obviously not easy. I mean, guys, it's really not easy right now. I think it's just all about we're probably living a hand to mouth. It's a hand to mouth type of season, I think. Just paying for what's necessary. I think right now it's all about budgeting and really just making sure you're spending money on the right things, not on the things that you want, but more on the things that you need. So I think it's a time to really mind our finances because money is so hard to come by right now. So that is the one probably tip that I'd give.
I think it's just that business reconfiguration. I think one just needs to sit down and say, am I selling Rolls Royces in the worst part of the world? Does the market want a Rolls Royce? And should you be selling a much smaller, more agile car? And it's an honest question that we need to ask ourselves. And I think every entrepreneur, every person must ask themselves, say, look, listen, the climate has changed. The cheese is no longer where it was. They've moved the cheese. So we need to move with it. I mean, if you keep going to where it was before, it's not going to work. If you keep trying to sell those Rolls Royces, you're not going to buy them.
For sure. I like that. And let's keep it moving. Let's keep it, let's stay afloat. But as we're floating, let's adjust the sails. Let's move to where the cheese is, as Nasty P.
Nasty Pizzas.
This is an absolute pleasure having these two in the building. It is Tjuna and Panashe, our game changers for today, because they are not just changing the game in terms of Namibia, but they're changing their own game.